Topic: Should the USA switch to a single-payer healthcare system? Was my topic. Is the USA the best country in the world? Many times the US claims that they are the best country in the world, but yet they do not have a universal healthcare for all citizens. The USA is the only one of the world's 33 developed countries without universal healthcare. The USA ranked 34th in life expectancy at 79.3 years as of 2015, and that rate has been declining due to the opioid crisis. Every country higher than USA in life expectancy already has some form of universal healthcare. Thesis was, if the USA enacted a universal single-payer healthcare system, the USA citizens would be healthier, the country's economy would boom, and the USA would affirm its position on human rights. And there's the USA at the bottom of nearly every developed country in life expectancy. Problems with current healthcare system. The current healthcare system is based on someone's wealth, and not everyone has healthcare due to income inequality, which is caused by cuts to the wealthiest corporations and the wealthy in the country, and the rising cost of healthcare, and no one gets a raise since the minimum wage has been $7.25 now for over 10 years. Full profit, and it doesn't care about the people. And 29% of patients report not seeking care because of cost, which is very troubling. Healthcare inflation has surged. 27.6 million Americans without healthcare. And the ones that do have healthcare, 87 million Americans are underinsured. And simple, everyday people don't have equal healthcare to the politicians, the Hollywood elitists, or Silicon Valley CEOs. And many of these politicians, they exploit and get money from lobbyists, the healthcare lobbyists that don't want universal health care. And then there was a deep racial inequality that is caused by a lot of poverty and no one having health care. The people of color are disproportionately affected by poor health care system. The abortion rate is 4 times higher for women of color due to mass wealth inequality. 36% of abortions were done on African American women, while they are only 13% of the USA population. And people of color are more likely to get certain diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, cancers, just all kinds of diseases. And there's a deep racial inequality in healthcare, and of course in our country. That would be, a lot of it could be fixed. People would be on a more equal playing field if everyone was able to have health care. Insurance CEOs are ripping Americans off. A universal single-payer healthcare system would be a one-size-fits-all. Everybody needs the same thing in healthcare. Although not everyone needs something like free college, since everyone needs a different amount of college, and some don't need college at all. And it's also not like car insurance, because some people don't need car insurance like if they live like in a big city and use public transportation. And the insurance companies, they waste healthcare money due to the marketing to get people to buy the health insurance. And of course, they bribe politicians to not support universal health care. And the people will cry when insurance companies have all the money. These people, they make like $50 million a year, while millions have no health care at all. The CEOs make more in a day than their employees make in a year. An average CEO of a health insurance company can make 10 to 50 million a year, while employees might make 20,000, might make 50,000 a year. If a free society can't help those without health insurance, then the high and Nazi will fall over themselves one day. Yes, JFK, he once said that if we cannot save the few that are living in poverty, we cannot save the many that are rich. And President Trump signed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 in 2017, which cut the tax rate down to 21% for corporations and the top marginal tax rate for the wealthiest people in the country to 37.5%. And of course, this is very similar to many of the tax cuts that took place during the Reagan administration and the Bush administrations. And the rich and corporations can easily find the loopholes and cheat the IRS. And the IRS, a lot of times it seems like Facebook, they don't have to pay many taxes, or Amazon, or, well, Donald Trump, I guess. That's what some people say. And of course, this affects the poor and middle class, since they are getting a lot of money going back to them. And of course, if anyone watches the news, you hear about like the freedom dividend that Andrew Yang is running on about, how they would send some of the money back to us, like $1,000 a month for each citizen over 18, instead of the money like going to everyone at the top. Some of it would actually trickle down to to the middle class and the poor people, if that was enacted. And then the drug companies, they bribe the doctors to get richer too. And then if the government could regulate drug prices, which would happen under single payer, then the drug companies wouldn't pay doctors to prescribe opioids, and this has all contributed to the costly war on drugs. It has probably cost over $1 trillion in the past 50 years. And then the money that goes into bribing politicians and marketing can be used for preventive care. And the people will be able to go to the doctor to have a checkup when they have a minor issue before the issue becomes more major and costly. This will help rise people out of poverty and succeed. And there is a constant cycle of depression and loneliness when you don't have health care and home or a job. And it's like really hard even in some situations today, like for someone to get a job or buy a house if they're like disease or have health issues or can't take a shower. It's just like a cycle that goes on and on. A lot of people probably couldn't understand it. I can't. And then the Affordable Care Act helped with some of these things. It was passed by President Obama in 2010, and it prevented insurance companies from turning those away with pre-existing conditions. And a lot of this made Republicans mad. And there was a fight in the Republican Party when 7 Republicans they voted to keep Obamacare in 2017, especially, John McCain and, Donald Trump has been mad at him even though he's dead now. And he was one of the ones that voted against the appealing Obamacare. And this is a chart of the ones without health insurance, how much it went down, which is really good if you think about it. And then that's how they got under Obamacare. And then this ACA was great, but more needs to be done, and it can be done. Many are still stuck in this cycle of poverty and can't afford health care even when it is subsidized. ACA can meet universal coverage, but it would be very slow, and cost and sustainability would be problems. In ACA, skyrocketed costs for those who could afford it and subsidized for those who couldn't afford it. And of course, the Tea Party movement spread lies about the Affordable Care Act. You see, one of the things was there was going to be a death row panel for elderly people. And then, Representative Joe Wilson from South Carolina, he was one of the ones against it, and he yelled to Obama, "You died," during one of his speeches. And then political corruption that is fueled. Many Republicans and Libertarians wanted government out of their lives. A single payer would actually give government power over people because of the politicians and CEOs of the health insurance companies are in cahoots to guard corrupt finances, while locals and patriots are left without health care and very poor, and the middle class just evolves. And of course, the middle class, they're the ones that built this country with their blood, their sweat, and tears. But they have the system against them. And Joe Biden once said, "Bankers, Wall Street, and CEOs didn't build this country, you did." And of course, he was referring to the middle class. And of course, a lot of this happened because of Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, which was in 2010, when the Supreme Court ruled that corporations and unions could give unlimited money to politicians and ensure which increase corruption, since they can buy out our democracy. And of course, the government controls the people now, and the corporations control the government. So the corporations have bought out our democracy and are controlling the citizens of this country, who are the patriots. And of course, Mr. McConnell, he went from 3.1 million to 27.2 million in 6 short years, when Congress members don't even make $200,000 a year. A single payer would mean freedom to choose doctor. It would mean less malpractice and lawsuits and jack up prices. We would have a top-notch economy of the future that can compete with China, Japan, South Korea, Nordic countries of Norway, Iceland, Sweden, Finland. We have to stop the role that China has in the opioid crisis when they make the opioids and ship them to us in the USA. Then the doctors are paid up by Big Pharma, so all of these payers can have control over our lives and make money at the cost of our happiness. And of course, China is a very evil empire. The communist regime of China. Pro-life views on universal health care. Pro-lifers often believe universal health care will lead to higher abortion rates. While the opposite is quite true, 2/3 of women have abortion due to costs of raising a child. They need healthcare during pregnancy, during giving birth, and early childhood for their child. More access to contraceptives would decrease abortion rates, which is like condoms, birth control pills, etc. Most pro-lifers deny universal healthcare as, quote, socialistic. Since most in the pro-life movement are like, it's usually like Republican, I think you get the picture. And a single payer would protect and enhance lives. And traditional pro-lifers are actually just pro-birth. And there's a Marvel and her daughter together. How to pay for single payer. We close the loopholes for the wealthy and the corporations. You raise the top income tax rate to 50% like it is in like many Nordic countries. The lowest income tax rate would be 25% because the middle class, they are the backbone, so their taxes can't be raised. The wealthy would get nowhere without the middle class. And of course the corporate tax can't be 21% like it is under President Trump's act in 2017. There probably needs to be a sliding scale similar to income tax wealthiest corporations 30%, and newest and smallest businesses at 20%. Many countries, they do this, a sliding scale for the corporate tax to help the small businesses, since small businesses, they're important too, and not just the corporations, and this can prevent like monopolies from forming and help small businesses form too. And yeah, a lot of tax breaks for the wealthy, and it'll form for schools and healthcare and education and nutrition. And of course other countries. The pillars of these countries like Japan, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, are healthy citizens having a strong economy, happiness, and protecting human rights beyond just universal health care. Japan enacted single payer in 1939, and the life expectancy is now 83.7, which is the number one in the world, and that was according to the World Health Organization. They also have a low crime rate that continues to fall, and a peaceful culture, family life, employment, and income equality. The Nordic countries of Norway, Iceland, Sweden, Finland have single payer. Many people refer to this as democratic socialism, and of course many Americans are opposed to that phrase, like democratic socialism, because it has the word socialism in it. Many people would probably like human-centered capitalism better. That's probably a debate which one would be more appropriate. And then countries with universal healthcare have lower abortion rates, lower rates of AIDS, lower rates of teenage pregnancy, and lower rates of gray hair. These countries also close the tax loopholes for rich and corporations. We spend double on healthcare than average developed country. USA life expectancy is 78.7, which is behind average developed country at 80.1, and that's a Chinese doctor with her patient. And then reasons against single payer. Many Democrats want to keep Obamacare, aka Affordable Care Act, including 2020 Democratic presidential candidate and Obama's Vice President Joe Biden. He wants to create a situation where people can buy into Medicare, but keep Obamacare. He says he will fight any Democrat or Republican that wants to repeal Obamacare. And of course, two more 2020 candidates for the Democrat Party, Sanders and Gillibrand, they propose a Medicare for all bill. I think it was last year. they would outlaw most private insurance companies to become face-dip companies. 7.5% payroll tax plus 4% income tax on all Americans to be enacted in no plan. They would raise property tax and enact the wealth tax. And basically, according to Elizabeth Warren, this would be, you would give like 2 cents after, like past your 50 millionth dollar, you would give 2 cents per every dollar. And the cost of Medicare for all over 10 years would be $24.7 to $44 trillion. And the big question probably is, can $24 trillion be raised by the Sanders-Warren wealth tax and property taxes? Great Britain and Canada, long wait times, appointments have been cancelled, and going out of the country to receive treatment due to long wait times are common. And many people, especially conservatives, feel government takeover of healthcare. And of course, some of these are just the far-right conspiracy theories, similar to those about the Affordable Care Act and just about everything you can imagine.
So, again, I think if we're going to force Americans to make these radical changes, they're not going to go along. Throw your hands up. But you haven't... I can do it. But you haven't implemented the plans. Us governors and mayors are the ones that we have to pick up all the pieces when suddenly the government's supposed to take over all these responsibilities and there's no preparation, the details aren't working. You can't just spring a plan on the world and expect it to succeed.
Draw, Senator Sanders.
And there's my works cited.